I think this is not only obviously the biggest fight of Terence Crawford's career, but in a career that's filled with almost nothing but huge fights, this is the biggest fight of Canelo Alvarez's career.
A lot stronger, and I think he's going to have better endurance. Not being able to boil himself down like that, and even though it is a huge jump, I think we lose sight of the fact of how much he had to boil down and how gaunt he looked at 140.
You said you don't think, or you don't look into the weight difference. Why?
When you know how to box, when you're as skillful as Terence Crawford is, weight don't really matter much.
I think this is not only obviously the biggest fight of Terence Crawford's career, but in a career that's filled with almost nothing but huge fights. This is the biggest fight of Canelo Alvarez's career. A lot stronger, and I think he's going to have better endurance. Not being able to boil himself down like that. And even though it is a huge jump, I think we lose sight of the fact of how much he had to boil down and how gaunt he looked at 140. You said you don't think or you don't look into the weight difference. Why? When you know how to box, when you're as skillful as Terence Crawford is, weight don't really matter much. In anticipation of the explosive showdown between Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford, Max Kellerman has delivered his final take on the matchup. As part of Netflix's elite broadcast team assembled for this mega boxing spectacle, Kellerman brings his signature sharp analysis and historical perspective to what promises to be one of the sport's most consequential events. A great chin. But in terms of if you want to go skill for skill, especially the recent version of Canelo, who's had to turn into a seek and destroy guy who had to learn as his career went on to cut off the ring and not just follow guys around like Lara Trout Floyd. He followed those guys around. He had trouble because he's really a natural counter-puncher who wants you to come to him. But in recent years at super middleweight, he's gotten really good at cutting off the ring. Again, last fight notwithstanding. So as an overall suite of skills, recent vintage, it's been Crawford. Amicham. But Canelo also is skilled and has a larger skeleton than Crawford. No matter what they weigh, he's the bigger. Canelo is the bigger guy. Yeah. Kellerman isn't holding back, calling the Canelo Alvarez vs Terence Crawford showdown the most watched championship fight in almost 50 years. He compares it to the historic Muhammad Ali-Leon Spinks rematch in 1978, which snagged a staggering 90 million TV viewers. Kellerman emphasizes that with Netflix broadcasting, this fight isn't just another mega matchup. It's an entire shift in boxing's reach and business model, promising viewership multiples beyond the typical pay-per-view figures. But where would you rank this fight out of your top 3 to 5 of all the boxing fights you've called, you've experienced, you've watched? Just in terms of the magnitude of the magnitude. Yeah. I mean, of the fights that I've called ringside, it might turn out to be number 1. I've done Pacquiao fights. I've done Mayweather fights. I've done Anthony Joshua against Klitschko. Those are big fights. But this will listen because of Netflix. This will be the most watched fight, championship fight in almost 50 years. This is going to be because Muhammad Ali fought Leon Spinks in the rematch in '78 and they did 90 million TV sets. 90 million. And since then, what has even come close? The biggest fights have all been on pay-per-view. And they do 2 million buys. Oh my God. 3-4 million buys. Mayweather-Pacquiao. As I keep saying, if 5 people per TV set watch, per buy watch, that's 20 million people. This is going to do multiples of that. So when you look at it from a commercial point of view, it'll easily be the biggest boxing event I've ever covered. Fight promoter Dana White announced in a recent press conference that Kellerman will return to the broadcast booth as part of Netflix's official commentary team for the most awaited Canelo vs. Crawford's showdown on September 13, 2025. Kellerman, a veteran boxing analyst best known for his time on ESPN and HBO, will join John Anik and Hall of Famer Andre Ward in calling the action live from Allegiant Stadium. His inclusion marks a significant comeback to televised boxing, and he expressed his excitement at a recent press event, calling the match the perfect storm. Kellerman made it clear that Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford are among the very best pound-for-pound fighters of this era. He remarked that Crawford has my vote for best pound-for-pound, acknowledging that Canelo Alvarez was universally recognized that way until recently, highlighting how rare it is for two fighters of such caliber to face each other. He underscored that historically only about 25 to 30 boxers have ever been considered the top P4P, and both of these elite athletes now find themselves in that exclusive category. Want to bring up the first member of our broadcast team. He is the best boxing analyst in the sport, ladies and gentlemen, Max Kellerman. Applause, all right. So, I know you guys are excited about this fight, but I don't think you understand what a big deal it is. This is a perfect storm. A perfect storm. First of all, Turkey Alashik, we're lucky he happens to be a boxing fan. None of this happens if he doesn't happen to be a boxing fan. It's just where none of us are here. Nick Khan, the best in the business. Dana White. Dana White is the greatest combat sports promoter of my lifetime. And it's his first ever boxing promotion. So, that's who's behind what you're going to see. Do you know who's the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world? The most recent one, Bud Crawford. Apologies to the monster and Usyk. Bud Crawford has my vote for best pound-for-pound. Who was the best pound-for-pound before Bud? Canelo Alvarez. Universally recognized that way. But it's not just these two guys. The last two best pound-for-pound fighters in the world. There haven't been that many. Before Canelo, who do you have before Canelo? Floyd or Andre Ward, Floyd Mayweather. Before you could take the lineage back, there have only been, 25 or 30 fighters who ever lived who you said that's the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world. These are two of them, the last two, and they're going to fight in Las Vegas on September 13th. Canelo is 62-2 with 2 draws. 6-22-2. So was Marvin Hagler when Sugar Ray Leonard moved up to fight him, and they produced one of the biggest spectacles in the history of boxing. This fight is a perfect storm. I could not be more excited to be a part of it. Timothy Bradley Jr. predicts that the opening round of Canelo vs. Crawford will be far from explosive. Rather, it will resemble a calculated chess match. He expects both fighters to hold back initially, avoiding rash moves while assessing each other's rhythm, timing, and distance. Bradley observes that Crawford has a history of pacing himself in pivotal fights, waiting patiently to set strategic traps. Meanwhile, Canelo often uses early rounds to gauge his opponent and adapt as the fight unfolds. Bradley's read suggests viewers should anticipate a subdued first round on one where both fighters gather valuable information before ramping up the action in later rounds. Feel his punching power as well. In the beginning it's all the position B, balance, like both guys are trying to get balance and trying to find their rhythm, understanding their distance to where they can punch and at the same time avoid getting hit. It takes Crawford a little bit more time than I would say Canelo to get right to it. Canelo, although he is I would say he is a prolific counter-puncher, fantastic counter-puncher, he tends to find his spots a lot quicker, and the indication of that is when if you look at any of the boxers that Canelo has faced, Trout, even Danny Jacobs, even when he fought against Charlo, you just check out the first round, he usually takes off, just feels the power, cruises is, see what these guys know. Couple of feints, level changes, gathering information, right? Crawford does the same and similar things. So, I think the first round is going to be a real calm and cautious round by both fighters, but in the second round, Canelo's going to start applying that pressure. Man, pre-engagement with Crawford is a little bit more difficult than a Charlo. Okay, let me explain this. So, pre-engagement is the movements before you get into that sweet spot, which is mid-range to be able to let your hands go, right? Both guys are trying to counter each other movement. Both guys are looking at each other's, hands, trying to anticipate what they believe is going to come next. During those periods right there, Crawford is one of the best at it. Okay? Because he's smart. He's cerebral. Like a fighter to a fighter, we can feel when another fighter is like, oh, he's on my rhythm. WBC lightweight champion Shakur Stevenson is unwavering in his belief that Bud Crawford will beat Canelo and quite possibly stop him. Stevenson has repeatedly emphasized Crawford's elite skills, noting his speed, ring IQ, and southpaw stance give him a decisive edge. He's even suggested that Crawford will cook Canelo, an evocative way to warn fans this could be a one-sided performance. Stevenson first laid out this prediction as early as 2021 and has continued to double down, asserting that Crawford's precision and adaptability make him not just a contender, but the logical pick in this high-stakes matchup. I think Bud going to cook Canelo. I think he going to cook him. I think, Canelo a hell of a fighter, but I think Bud just got all the tools to be. You don't think the weight difference is going to be too big of an advantage? I think y'all make that something, in certain fights, boxing makes it something, not us. Like if this was like a Benz, he's actually a lot bigger than, but so that would apply. But I feel like with Canelo, he's physically kind of big, but height-wise, he's kind of small. So, I don't think so. Now, I think that's possible. I'm not saying that it's going to happen.